Hello, our weekend review programme, and we thought, as we had Mr. Callister here, we should really talk about the TT, because the big news came out this week, and I think everyone's got an opinion about this whole thing anyway. It's coming back. It's completely sort of had a revamp. This probably was the exact moment. You can ask for a better moment for a revamp, but you're going to ask people to pay $14.99 if they really want to watch it. That sort of thing. Give us your spin on the whole thing first.
Let's step back. During COVID, one of the very fortunate things about COVID was the DFE motorsport team were able just to sit back and say, right, the TT, what is it? What's people's experiences around that? How do we make it bigger and better to capture more people and to allow people to share the experience of the TT? Because at the moment, we know from the data, the audience is quite restricted in certain areas, so we want to actually reach a worldwide audience. We want to actually make this a bigger and better event and to generate income at a point where it may end up paying for itself in the future.
Ooh.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, because obviously that's going to be my next thing, and you being Treasury. It costs the Isle of Man money, but you make money from the tourists.
Let's be perfectly honest here, Paul. If you go back 20 years, the Isle of Man TT was making less than probably £30,000. If you actually take it today, it's making millions of pounds, and that money goes directly back into the sport.
It's making millions of pounds. Break that one down, please.
Okay, we make...
Taking, not me.
He said making money.
Well, it does make money, doesn't it?
Of course, everything makes money, but it costs. It depends how you do your books.
Okay, well,
you've got your outgoing and you've got your income.
You've got your exchequer benefit. We've got, as you say, the global sort of reach across the island from the economic point of view. It also raises millions of pounds through sponsorship and from merchandise rights, etc. That wasn't in place 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what we've actually done is we've actually tried to capture these areas, and every penny that's made goes back directly into the sport. And the same applies from TT Plus, which is a brand new concept, which is where people can pay $14.99 to access 40 hours of live TT access through the qualifying, through the racing, but then throughout the year, it will also have free contact for the rest of the year. This has got a perfect opportunity over a 2-year period to try and actually make considerable amount of money, which goes directly back into the event.
So back to my point, it costs money to put on. Yes. How much money is it put on? How much money does it make? Who actually has those numbers? Because everyone bands numbers around.
I haven't got the exact figures to hand, but the money has come from the Economic Recovery Fund, and this is about
that special fund.
Yeah, this is about helping the island recover. This is absolutely right that we look at bringing this event back, and we bring it back bigger and better. Now, some of the changes have come in this year. And I say we've got a brand new lineup of presenters. We're going live, as we said. People who don't want to pay that can still access ITV4 to have the highlights program as they always have. Visitors hopefully will be coming, joining us to enjoy that spectacle live. But at the same time, it is about bringing this back. It's recovering it and making it bigger and better, and a better experience for our visitors as well.
Who wants to pick on that one? You do a hotel hat on or tourist hat on for the past, do you think?
Well, I'm on record. I mean, I wish TT well, but I really do. But I'm on record as saying from a business perspective, what matters is your yield return from a tourist accommodation point of view over the longest period of the year. And, you can only sell a bedroom once in TT week. I have certain concerns about the structure within DFE, in terms of the motorsports people being completely separate from the visitor sector. So I just sometimes more of late, getting the view that there's a significant focus on TT when the significant focus should be on the yield rate over as long as possible in the year. So, but I'll hold my water until I see the strategy for tourism up to 2032, and we will be presenting that probably in April or May to Tynwald, and that will set the vision for bringing to the island 500,000 visitors. Chris is absolutely right. The yield is very important to this. We need to extend that season. We're looking at everything possible. As I said, we've gone through the COVID situation. We now need to go through the recovery stage now, and then from that is actually plant the seeds to have a really good offering as tourism on the islands. But this is all going to be laid before Tynwald, probably.
You mentioned extending the season, but the Manx Grand Prix has been shrunken, hasn't it? So
It has.
There's mixed messaging going on by
yeah,
that.
but I think you know yourself, Paul, anyone who's been involved in this, in the Manx Grand Prix, we knew we were getting serious issues around marshalling of the first few sessions. So what we've done is we've undertaken a review. As I said, the motorsport team and the Marshall Association, the Manx Grand Prix, the Manx Motorcycle Club have all undertaken these reviews during COVID. Now what they've done is they've condensed that back and actually made it over a 9-day program, but actually made it a bigger and better festival for people to come to the Isle of Man and to package a holiday around all of that.
But you're not offering satellite live TV and all sorts of things on that particularly. I know you've got the recorded highlights, but that's not
for
the
the
same
moment.
thing.
I mean, we're doing two things. Obviously, we've got everything that's going on with the TT. The Manx Grand Prix is a separate event. They are heading towards their centenary next year, and it's absolutely right that we start focusing on how that centenary event is going to look. Can we make it bigger? Can we actually attract more visitors to that event? But that was the review. This was the review undertaken by the Manx Motorcycle Club and the Marshall Association with the ACUE and with DFE. That is the package they came up with. Political member, I'm happy to get behind and support it.
So let's do a programme on it when the strategy comes out.
Andrew,
I mean, obviously, we've tried to support a recognised
Treasury now.
Treasury, within DFE, we've given 278,000 specifically as in those to motorsport, and then another 500,000 to visit, which obviously would encompass the extension of the season, if you wish, as Chris has alluded to.
do they have to give you an explanation of how they're going to spend that money before, or do you use them that
No,
envelope?
we've said
the same thing.
We've said that, yeah. We've said that, yeah.
Envelope goes over.
Oh, there's a lot of detail. We have to present a business case, especially around the £500,000. We've had to present that and said this is how the Isle of Man's going to try and recover the tourist sector in 2022, going into 23. The £1.2 million has been put into motorsport. That again, there has to be a business case around that, and the same for a TT Plus. That's come from the Economic Fund. That has to be very much explained. It's over a 2-year, so even though we're hoping to have good numbers in the first year, the review will happen probably after year 1, but more importantly after year 2.
Are you relaxed with these numbers?
Yeah, well, obviously, and we've also picked up on in Treasury that the DFE and especially through Modernist Motorsport are looking to get more sponsorship where they can, because obviously if it can be more self-funding, that's what, as you've alluded to right at the beginning, well, we're bouncing numbers about here, what you get so much in, but it costs you so much.
No one will ever seem to know, because it's impossible to balance this.
Well, in fairness, there will be certain things, because there will be economic gain that you possibly can never measure. But that should be reflected. Yeah. It will be reflected through the hospitality and catering sectors.
The economic value is about £39 million every year this event brings in, and we've lost that for the last 2 years. Exchequer benefit between £6 and £7 million directly into Treasury. So these events are massive, but what we do need to do, as Chris has rightfully said, these are our flagship events. We need other events, big events to go on throughout the season that attracts people here. We need people, and that also ties into the fact that we need proper reliable links to the island, not just through the sea but also through air, and we need the quality of our accommodation to increase. The whole experience of somebody coming here has to be reviewed.
But when he goes to you and asks for money for something that's going to be used for 4 weeks a year, like the new grandstand scoreboard, for instance, how does that weigh with you?
I mean, I'll answer that. This budget does not have the grandstand in there, and you know my thoughts on that. However, what I can say today is the fact is that we are looking within the department. I think ministers give a commitment in the budget to actually say we will have that scoreboard in place for 2023. Does it add an economic value to the event? Probably not. But does it add a heritage, a culture, significant part to that event? Yes, I think it does. We will have this in place by 2023. Hopefully we'll be able, subject to planning, subject to build, but I'm hoping we're almost ready to go to planning.
Yeah, because the minister said it didn't get planning or something. It's gone back for another look.
No, what the minister asked for was a review of the case, the business case around it. We've done that. We've looked at, I think what the minister was asking for was to see if we could actually make it slightly smaller. Could it come in slightly less cost? That really hasn't worked, so what we're doing is sticking to the original plan. We're about to submit our plans. Hopefully, we're talking maybe weeks, or if nothing more, a month or so. And then from that, people will see exactly what I promised. It's a like-for-like structure, I'm hoping that it will be built and in place by 2023. It will then tie in with the other changes we're proposing to bring in 2023.
You said heritage in that thing.
Yeah.
So is it going to look old-fashionedy and
Well, I promise.
and dolls and things with
Paul, you and I
scouts on
have
the end
done
of it?
so many interviews on this.
We have literally been up there so many times.
We've
I
done
know.
so many interviews on this. It
Seems
will
like a long
look
time.
and feel like the old scoreboards did.
With bells and whistles and
But it
things
will
like-
have technology in it. It will have three screens.
Right.
It will have it will have screens. That brings it up to the 21st century. It allows us, as Andrew's already said, to generate maybe an element of income from that. So there is opportunities there as well. But
How
it
much?
will look.
How much? Who's going to tell me? It's in the book, is it? Is it actually? Is it a standalone? This is going to cost so much money.
Again, I've been honest with you all day. We don't actually have a final cost.
It's been horrible to you.
And the reason why we don't is because, as the minister said, we are reviewing those costs,
Yeah.
and we know the inflationary costs are around us all, and we know that materials cost more than they did 2 years ago when we started this process.
Okay.
So,
But let's be honest. This year, 2022, there'll be some temporary arrangement in place,
There is.
which could carry on. Let's face it. You don't necessarily have to have a brand new scoreboard. You could just have something that's brought in.
please do not say we do not need a scoreboard. We
I'm
do
not
from-
saying that. I'm not.
We do from a heritage
Leave him
point of
alone.
view. We have had a scoreboard in place since 1907.
Yeah.
I personally want a scoreboard there because it is heritage. And I think because the DFE motorsport team is based there, you'd be surprised how many people actually turn up there to have their photographs taken.
This will get so many views because you mentioned the scoreboard. Trust me, people they'll be all over this thing with their comments.
Well,
because
if it carries on any longer, I'm going to get my own tools out. And because Chris has got great DIY. Me and Chris will build the damn thing, I promise you.
To shut him up, yes.
Yeah.
So.
He'll have a pot of paint in his way.
are you happy with the numbers? I mean, with both your hat as a constituency, MHK, plus obviously Treasury.
mean,
are you happy
I-
with these
I-
numbers
I've-
on the whole thing, not just scoreboard?
Personally, and as a constituent of MHK, obviously, because I've got the TT course runs through Garth anyway, the very northern part of it. So, I mean, I've always supported the TT, and I think it's great for the island. I think, it's a fantastic, heritage, because it is a heritage, that's how long it's been going.
Are you enjoying being an MHK?
Sorry?
Are you enjoying the job?
You're off on a tangent here.
time
keep
to-
on
no
messaging.
time- no time to answer
And no time for that one.
that.
No.
And so, yeah.
He's been very honest, I love it.
I will support. I do
Okay.
support the TT.
Okay.
But on this occasion, and I will say on the programme, because we're being open and honest, I
Yeah.
couldn't support the additional costs over and above everything else after the pandemic of the scoreboard.
You don't want it
On this year. For
this year.
This year.
We're not going to get it this year.
He'll happily turn
Here
up for
we
the
go.
opening, but he wouldn't give us the
This
funding.
year.
That's what the
So
message
So you know how much it's going to cost.
Well, we knew how much it was costing
he's
at
not-
that
he's saying he
time.
doesn't
but
know.
it's gone up now, hasn't it?
Oh, great.
Has it?
Of course it has.
Everything goes up. But then you said, I thought that it was going to come down in size or something.
The minister asked for a review of the size and the budget.
Right.
As far as I understand
We're having
today,
a great show, isn't it?
It hasn't gone up. So if Andrew knows something more than me, can you let me
When I
know?
say it's gone up, I'm talking about it's going up by the grandstand.
Oh, yeah.
This discussion has been going on for so long. It is actually like part of heritage, isn't
Okay.
it?
I want to finish on the big question, and it's a very serious question on this whole thing. Is that, government are running this, and more so, I mean, Radio TT, from what I understand, is now part of the main machine, and they're doing they're paying for all the broadcasting, and then they have their rights holders who can use it, and that costs money.
But this is you're talking about Manx Radio in the
Just Radio TT,
in
whoever
years
does it.
gone by, Manx Radio used to be able to generate income themselves from advertising. Obviously, we're trying to align. And again, if we have got a major sponsor, Monster Energy or something like that, then what we're actually doing is trying to align a package that generates income that goes directly back into the event. And that is very important. If you take TT Plus, which is what, as I say, it'll be going live soon. When that happens, every single $14.99 that's collected goes back into the event. We're hoping at some point, maybe not within 2 years, we'll be given Treasury money back. That's the goal. That would be great.
You got this on
This is
tape.
It's on tape.
This
It's on-
is recorded.
No, but
recorded.
that is a very positive thing. But
Yeah.
my main thing to finish with, which is not the happiest note, is that this is a government-sponsored event, which is incredibly dangerous. And we've done this conversation many times with many different people in that chair, which you is now sitting in, and you have to balance this up as well. I mean, everyone has to balance this thing up as what, in many people's view, is something that's so dangerous it shouldn't happen.
The interesting thing is we talk about we've looked at the Isle of Wight, and I know they're trying to put that on. I don't think somebody could actually do this the way the Isle of Man does it now. I've sat with the team for the last 6 years. I know how difficult it is to get this up and running every year, and it gets harder. there's more pressure around safety. And again, during COVID, I thank the whole team, because we've undertaken a root and branch review. The management, we've undertaken the safety element of it. We've looked at the structures. We've made sure that the marshals are better trained than ever before. We've put in better medical facilities to protect our riders. And if something does go wrong, that they've got first class services around them to make sure that they are actually in the right place where they need to be in respect of recovery.
Andrew?
Yeah. Well, I think, as I say, safety is a big issue, and I think they have obviously taken as many precautions as you possibly can on an open road mountain circuit that we have, because we're not talking around something like Silverstone or something where you just round a track with straw bales. I mean, it is critical. I live next door to Richard Neen. And you know what happened to one of his sons,
Yes.
A very experienced rider, and on a very, what people could say, not necessarily difficult part of the course, but as there's something wrong. The thing with this course, and as everybody knows, I mean, a rabbit, a pheasant,
That's what, and it has happened, of course.
anything can pop out.
I think,
I think we take all the precautions, and I think fair enough. They've had this full root and branch review. And they've tried to now, bring, not only bring it into the 21st century regarding technology, so that they're always in contact, know exactly where every bike is, etc., ensuring that they know where the marshals are and one thing or another. But they've got this interaction with better medical cover.
I think you're absolutely right, and you've just brought back memory again there from 2018. I know where I was when that announcement was made, and I remember getting the phone call 10, 15 minutes before it went out in the public domain. And you know something, again, I put my hat off to the whole of the DFE motorsport team, because when they are very close to the riders, they're very close to the teams, and when these things happen, and I witnessed this in 2018, they were very close to Dan Neen. I kid you not, they carried on in such a professional manner to get that event through. And then at the end of it, then they obviously had the time to reflect on what had just happened. But they have to be so professional in this event to deliver it. And I think a lot of the public don't quite understand that. No. And the same for our marshals as well when they witness things.
And the other thing, in fairness, Paul, that we have to recognise is that these riders, it's in the makeup, it's in the blood, and despite what they may hear about, people death, and even their, people like. Who was it that died in a car? I'm not into all this motorsport, Robbie. You have to help me out here. One of the Irish riders who did die over in Croatia.
Oh, Dunlop.
Yeah.
Joe Dunlop.
Yeah.
Eastern
Estonia or somewhere. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that you get a local rider or someone that's visiting, and they have that, and yet and they go through the trauma with the family of that rider, but yet they still want to race, and they still want the challenge of the mountain course.
But I think moving away from that, there'll always be elements of this which is very difficult to accept. But what we do put on, and I think it's absolutely important to finish this section, is that we put on a world-class event. And it's absolutely very important to the Islands
visitor. And you say section. We, because that's what the final thing was about, we had the Vision 9 option that spectacularly failed. I mean, it could be this independent commercial company that runs it, but it's a government that actually puts on the race.
I still think it's very difficult for somebody outside, and I've always had this view since I've come into the House of Keys. I think it's very difficult for anybody other than the Isle of Man government to actually run the TT or to have a heavy input into that, given all of the different sections that have to pull together. And it's only as being the political member of the last 5 years I've actually been able to witness that, of how everything comes together. People don't see it, they just see the event. They don't realise the 11 months or, that they have to work tirelessly to put all of this together, bring all government departments together. And I know, Chris, it's one of the few things that does not work in silos.
He's not saying a word hardly at all in this section. Not interested, or just listening?
No, I'm just listening. One could discuss the risk issue, but in the broader world, we're in a massive environment of risk aversion and snowflake society. And okay, there's a risk here. There's a boldness. I think the last word just remains with Rob today, I think.
Yeah. Okay, but will the crowds come back? Will the riders come back? I've asked everyone this.
I think I've been pushing since November last year to make sure we've got a very clear and open and transparent messaging around our borders. I think that's coming. I think hopefully we'll be fully open. I think we'll be able to welcome visitors to the TT. I'm hoping that the airlines will get the flight schedules published and Steam Pack will get theirs, and we can attract tens and tens of thousands of people to our island. According to the Steam Pack, the numbers are online with 2019, which is fantastic. When the first bike leaves the grandstand, this year it'll be almost 3 years to the day, and that's hard to believe that we've had no racing on the course for almost 3 years. So let's bring it back. Let's have a safe race. Let's make sure that we actually have a brilliant tourist season as well.
Only about 98 days, 99 days, something like that, until it's here. Which is fantastic to hear that sort of thing. Love it or hate it, it's part of the Isle of Man, isn't it? And that's the main
island.
thing.
It's part of the island's DNA. It's part of the culture. It's been around, for 100 years plus. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing that first bike go down the hill.